Life of Bi. Hello friends, I'm Tiffany and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited because today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite things to talk about, and that is books. I love to read so much, and I found that kind of after college, whenever real life got in the way, I just wasn't able to read as much as I wanted to, but I've kind of gotten back into the groove of reading, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I listen to a ton of audiobooks. I love audiobooks so much, but I also love reading traditional books. And so lately I've been trying to collect some more books, some older ones that I already love, or some books that I've been meaning to read for a long time, or just some newer books that everyone's been talking about and I feel like I just need to get my hands on them. And so I've done a lot of book shopping, and so I am so excited to share some of the books that I've gotten with y'all today. For those who don't know, I live in Ohio, and there is a local bookstore that actually shut down at the end of the year. And so for the past few months, they've been having a huge sale just to get rid of all of their inventory. And so whenever I went in a few weeks ago, they had a sale where every single book was $1, whether it was paperback, hardback, whatever. Every book was $1. So I definitely took advantage, and I got a ton of books. Some of them are ones that I've read before, or they're part of a series. Others are ones that I've heard good things about and want to read. And then some of them are just ones that the cover appealed to me, so I just decided to get it. So let's get into those because there are a ton of them. So the first two I'm going to share are these two. I love Sisterhood the Traveling Pants, and even though I don't have the first or the fourth one, and they didn't have those ones for sale at the bookstore, I decided to go ahead and get these two. This is the second summer of the Sisterhood and the third summer of the Sisterhood, and I love this series so much. It was one of my favorite series whenever I was in, I think, middle or high school. I'm not sure whenever they came out, but I loved them. And actually, whenever I was in college, me and my friends, we had a traveling notebook. We actually had a couple different ones with different friend groups, but we did like a Sisterhood of the Traveling Notebook where we spent our summers apart, and so we would put together a little notebook and we would write letters to each other and send them between the four of us. So it was actually a lot of fun. So I was excited to get my hands on these, and I'm definitely going to do my best to get my hands on the first and the fourth one as well so I can complete the series. This is the next book I got. It's called My Name is Memory, and it's by Anne Brochers, and that's the same person who wrote the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I actually read this book a while ago, and I think I thought it was okay. I don't really remember, but the story didn't really stick with me that much. It's about this girl who is like, she's got goo eyes for this guy. She's got a little crush on him, and she is in high school, and then this guy, he has a crush on her too, but for different reasons. So apparently he has this ability to remember all of his past lives, and the girl, he is falling in love with her again because he knows her from all of their past lives together. It's a super interesting concept, but I feel like I thought this book was just okay. I might have to give it another read just to recall everything that happened, but yeah, I'm excited to have this one on my shelf. The next two books I got are by Nicholas Sparks. I am a big Nicholas Sparks fan. Like, I don't go seeking his books, but whenever I do pick up one of his books, I end up really loving them. The two books that I got are Dear John and The Last Song, and you probably already know what these are about just because they are a little bit older, but they were also made into movies, and I love the movie adaptations of both of these. I think they're both really good. The next one I got is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I was so excited to be able to get my hands on this one. I love this book so much, and I love the movie adaptation as well. I actually only read this book so that I could watch the movie because I really like to read the books before I go see the movie adaptations, and both of them were so amazing. I loved them both. And I haven't finished this series because my reading goal last year was to do an alphabet reading challenge where I read a book by every single letter of the alphabet. And so the rest of the series didn't really add up to me reading all those letters. But since that's not my challenge this year, I definitely want to probably reread this one and then continue the series. The next book I got is kind of for a younger crowd, and it is The Land of Stories by Chris Colfer. I love Chris Colfer because I used to love Glee. I actually just finished rewatching it. I think it was at the beginning of last year. I rewatched the entire series and loved it, except for the last season. I'm not a big fan of the last season. But anyway, I was so excited to find this book on sale because it is something that I wanted to read. It's about these two twins and their grandma gives them a fairy tale book, and the fairy tale stories come to life. And so that just sounds really interesting. It sounds like something that I would have wanted to read whenever I was this age. I'm not really sure what the demographic is, but I know it's for a younger crowd. You can see that the words are a little bigger. So excited to read this one. So I found Someone Like You by Sarah Dessen, and I honestly wasn't sure if I had this one yet, and I do. There's only a couple Sarah Dessen books that I don't have. I do have most of her books because she is one of my favorite authors, if you did not know. She is the person that made me fall in love with YA books. She made me fall in love with reading in high school, and even though Harry Potter's like the books series that I fell in love with whenever I was in middle school, these were like the first books that I read that were for like a more mature audience, the ones that were for people that were my age and were going through things that I could understand and things like that. So I have read this book so many times, and I do own this one already, but there are a few Sarah Dessen books that I definitely want to get my hands on that I don't have yet. I'm kind of ashamed to admit that I haven't read this book yet. It's Life of Pi by Jan Martel, and obviously this is an oldie but goodie. So many people have read this, talked about it, loved it. It's been made into a movie recently, but I have not read it. I'm probably one of the only people in the world that hasn't read this yet. So I am definitely excited to have this on my shelf and to finally get to read it. I've never actually read a Jennifer Weiner book before, but I feel like I would love her work. Just everything that everybody says about her books, I just feel like I would love them. So I got In Her Shoes, and I believe this was made into a movie. I'm not 100% sure. I'm excited to read this one. I hear her novels are like romantic but also super funny, so definitely excited to have this on my shelf. I love Confessions of a Shopaholic. I haven't read every single book in the series, but I've read a ton of them and I love them. They are so funny. And so I was excited to find this one. It's called The Undomestic Goddess by Sophie Kinsella, and she is, of course, the author of the Confessions of a Shopaholic series. I'm not actually sure what this book is about, but just her name on the cover was enough to make me want to buy this. The next book I got is called Four Blondes, and it's by Candace Bushnell. And if you don't know who Candace is, she is the author of the Sex and the City series. Now, I haven't actually read Sex and the City. I know, I haven't read it. But I do love the TV series and the movies that came with it. And so I just feel like I would like her humor and her storytelling. So I'm excited to get to read this one. So the next book I got is called What Alice Forgot, and it's by Leanne Moriarty. Sorry, I have no idea how to say her name. What's awesome about this book is that I'm in a couple of Facebook book club groups, and somebody was talking about this one, and I don't remember what it's about, but they were saying that this is a really good one. And I'm trying to do the Pop Sugar Book Challenge this year, and if you don't know what that is, I talked a little bit about it in my blog, so I'll link that below for y'all. But this book fits one of the prompts. Can't remember which prompt, but I'm excited that at least one of the books that I got fits a prompt that is for that challenge. And the last book I got from the bookstore was The Devil Wears Prada, and it's by Lauren Weisberger. I think everybody knows the story of Devil Wears Prada because everybody has seen the movie, including me. And shameful, I know, I have not read the book yet, but now I have it in my possession, and I am definitely going to read it. So those are all the books that I got from the bookstore that was closing locally, but I also did some shopping at 2 other bookstores. If you watch my recent vlog for whenever I went to Buena Vista, Colorado for one of my friends from high school, her wedding, I went to Denver and I got a couple books. Now this bookstore was huge. It's called the Tattered Cover Bookstore. It was so awesome. Like, this place was huge, and it's one of the biggest independent bookstores in the US. So of course I had a field day, spent way too long in there, but I only bought 2 books because I need to control myself. I did find these 2 books that I just had to have, and one of them was on sale, and that one is The Fault in Our Stars. This is one of my favorite books. I love it so much. It makes me cry. This is probably one of the first books that actually made me cry. And it was only $4, so I didn't want to pass that up. The other book I got is one that everyone's talking about, and I have not read it yet, and it is Carry On. I am so excited to finally read the series because I loved Fangirl. Whenever I read Fangirl, I just fell in love with it. And this book is actually kind of a sister novel to Fangirl because the main character in Fangirl, she writes fan fiction, and this book is the fan fiction she writes. And the second book to this series, Wayward Son, just came out recently, and so I want to go ahead and read this one so that I can read the sequel and fall in love with it just like everybody else has. I just have 2 more books that I'm going to talk about today, and these ones I actually got whenever I was visiting Kyle's family for Christmas. We were in Michigan, and we actually took like a little day trip to Detroit, and so we stopped at a bookstore because Kyle's friends opened up a bookstore in Detroit, and so we went to go support them and go hang out with them, and I got to meet them for this first time, so I was super excited to meet them and then also support their business. So the first book that I got from there is Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And everyone has been talking about this book, and apparently all of her books are good, but this one's especially amazing, and so I cannot wait to read it, you guys. I am so excited. And then the last book I got is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and this is another book that everyone's been talking about. As you can see, I have already started reading it. So something that Kyle and I like to do is to read aloud to each other before we go to bed. We don't do it every night, but we do it often. And this is the book that we are reading together right now, and it's kind of frustrating because it's so good, and we just want to know what happens, and we just want to continue reading it, but we just read a little bit every night. Gotta control ourselves, but it is amazing so far, and I love that it takes place in Louisiana because I miss Louisiana. I miss being in the South. We are not even halfway through yet, and it is living up to the hype. I am so excited to see what happens. So these are all of the books that I've gotten recently. I am so excited just to see all of them together, just because they've been scattered about the house, just because I just put them in random places before I put them on my bookshelf, just because I wanted to film this video. So excited to see all of my books together. I cannot wait to put them on my shelf, and more importantly, I can't wait to read all of them or reread some of them. There are some of them that I've read before, but I'm excited to read again. So thank y'all so much for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and in the comments below, let me know what books you are reading. I would love to know what books are on your shelf. If you have any recommendations for me, I am open to almost all genres. I love reading. So if there's any book that you love and would recommend, definitely leave those in the comments below. I would love to hear about them. So thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!